Dear friends, the theme of today's morning show is that the Trump MAGA movement will last generations. It's not just going to be one little, election. It will last generations. We'll be talking about how that needs to be done. Again, I wish I could start with something that says what you're not going to hear on Fox News. I am this week going to be attending an event which will invariably be frequented by people who fancy themselves as being politically active, politically sentient, politically, and they will know nothing more than Fox News and Newsmax, and that's it. They don't even read websites. I mean, Breitbart is considered extravagant. They focus on Fox News. I cannot tell you the number of people that never stray from Fox News. I mean, I admire them, but the Fox and Friends, which is, if that was a food, it would be a Twinkie. A lot of dye, a lot of synthetic additive, no fiber, no bulk, all processed, missing what things miss. And one of the things which is so critical is you need time to explain stuff. See, that's the thing which these people don't have. They don't take time. You have to have time. You have to take time. You have to build something up. And you can't do that when you've got news, sports, and weather, or somebody talking to you about, hey, let's go out in the mall and barbecue something for this. Remember who they are. They are the Murdochs. The Murdochs don't care about Fox News. Their billions come from international sports coverage and Sky and this and NFL. They don't care about this stuff. They will never, ever, ever let anybody talk about weather modification, about the DOD chances, what we're talking about with Ron Paul. Never. Never that in any way, anything that even replicates anything that Tucker said or Glenn Beck when he was there. Remember, it is processed. It is milled. It's like baby food that's been strained. Everything that might have any substance to it has been filtered out. It's very easy. Very easy. You can almost drink it. It's been so processed. We're going to get to that right away. First, I got to tell you right off the bat. 9 days from now, I'm going to be at the cutting room. 9 days. Think about this. That still blows my mind. 15 days from the election here is going to be the actual physical election. But I'm going to be at the cutting room. No. 6 days from today, but 15 days until the election. It's going to be 10. Okay. So 15 days from today is going to be the election, okay? But next Saturday, I'm going to be at the cutting room on the 26th, 6 days from now. You understand this? Let's just leave it at that. Right? If you would like to join me and your friends and your fellow travelers, all you have to do, and this is important, and this is critical, and this is necessary, all you have to do is go to the provision, to the dates that are allowed, that are provided for in the description section here. That's all. That's all you got to do. I promise you, it's like nothing you've ever seen. And the reason why is simply this. Most people who do any kind of performance do not want any variability. I don't care who it is. They have a tight act. And they don't like throwing. They don't like questions. They don't like anything that doesn't. It's an act. Mine is not an act. It's a process. It's a meeting. It's like, I don't know what you want to call it. I've never understood this. I did stand up for years, and this routinized. I have a routine. I do this halfway through. Stand up comedy is a different story. So cutting room, the 26th of October. You understand that? Follow me there. Now, as we move on, the story yesterday, which was the most that we wanted to talk about, was this DOD disaster. I got one for you too. Noah has predicted, between 17 and 24 more weather events and the like until the end of November. Think about that. To the end of November. They have not had a hurricane in 164 years or something during election time. Certain platforms does not prefer any talk about weather modification. Don't like that. They don't want to hear it. Brennan from the CIA can come on and say the very same thing. I don't get it. I don't understand what is and isn't allowed. I don't understand how some people can come out and say Israel is committing genocide. That's okay. No problem. And I think if that's your opinion, that's your opinion. Or other people can say that Israel is not committing genocide, and that's okay. Or somebody can talk about Ukraine, and that's okay, or not. I don't understand it. I don't know who gets away, who is allowed to say certain things. That's the part I don't understand. But what I am telling you is that irrespective of all of this, whether it's Fox News or these particular programs or monetization or whatever it is, there is a side and a perspective of the world that nobody is talking about. And we are not believing this conspiracy thing anymore. We're just not, it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work anymore. It's like the word racism. It doesn't hit us anymore. It doesn't register. It doesn't mean anything anymore. Do you understand that? It doesn't mean anything. We don't know. It's just transphobic or these words, whatever. It's like white noise. It doesn't matter. I talked to you about this yesterday, and I talked to you about this, and I thought this was the most important thing in the world. And there was a fellow who I've always admired, Dr. Ron Paul, the Ron Paul Institute. And he is considered by people like in the world of, well, let me tell you something. You know that when you're in the beautiful people in the Fox News crowd and the Newsmax, they don't want to hear from this guy. But this was a story that everybody was talking about, and I was yesterday. And I want you to listen to this. We talked about it last night.
But we want to start off with a headline from Zero Hedge. It's a pretty hot headline. U.S. military now is authorized to kill Americans on U.S. soil. That can't be possible. Yeah. This would open up the door for the careless use, and if more frequent and legal. It'll be legal now, so nobody will have to worry about that. Send in the troops. We need you to shoot a couple of these people. Yeah. They're opposing our policies. They're demonstrating against COVID rules. There's something they'll come up with. So I think it's very, very dangerous.
So here it is.
Now, let me tell you what happened. See the way Ron Paul just spoke? See the way he spoke? Kind of homespun, old man, kind of way he speaks. You hear that? It's kind of like this old kind of word. I don't know what the word is. This strange kind of. Understand it? And one of the things about it, which is the most interesting, is that people just kind of dismiss him because he doesn't look like the polished, coiffed, and I don't know, the Fox News look or whatever it is. They just don't listen to him because it's Ron Paul, the Fed, and he's one of those outliers. This is where we are. And he's telling you. And he's telling you. And he points it out.
Zero Hedge picked it up from Armageddon Pros, which is a Substack which they often run. It says U.S. military now authorized to kill.
See, Substack. You can't quote Substack. What does Substack mean? Substack isn't like the New York Post or, the New York Times. What's it? Substack. They have this Armageddon Pros. Oh, we can't cite. What do they know? Even though what Armageddon Pros cites is an actual statute.
Americans on U.S. soil, just ahead, intriguingly, of November elections, and that was my second thought. The military has granted itself permission to unleash lethal force on the civilian population. Again, I thought this has got to be an exaggeration, so I went and looked, and actually,
the ability to unleash lethal force against American citizens. This can't be, right? Sean Hannity would be talking about this. Newt Gingrich would be talking about this. Mike Huckabee, what Lawrence Jones would be sent out to some obscure diner in the middle of Armpit, Podunk, Ohio, to talk to people as they devour their lard in the morning. I mean, don't you think this can't be a big story because somebody would be talking about it. Trump would be talking about it. Somebody will be talking about it, right? So it can't be really worth anything, right?
go to the next one because this explains what it is. Now, it's not a law. It's a DOD directive.
And it's from a DOD manual. And this goes to show you something too, which is another thing you're not going to hear about on Fox News, is the administrative state that we live in. You see, in the old days, dear friends, we had elected officials and they passed laws, and the people who passed the laws would do various things and say various things and provide various things that went through the usual process. We knew about them. Before this happened, listen carefully, before this happened, they had, of course, before laws and the like, there were these other things which were very interesting. And all of a sudden, they became stuff that was fascinating. These groups of people that came along with PDDs, presidential daily directives. And then there were presidential signing statements. And then there were ways around the laws. Then there was the unitary executive. I promise you, this was at the height. This was at the very height, not the height, but this was at the height of post-PNAC, post-9/11. This was where Dick Cheney and Addington, his boy wonder, came up with this idea called the unitary executive, or the extension of it, which basically wanted to maintain the executive branch as the official, how do I say this? The official superior forget the separation of powers. So they came up with signing statements. This is how Bush got around the torture statute that John McCain had wanted. So this is from the DOD manual, and this is authorizing federal, government officials, military, to shoot and kill civilians. This is a complete and total destruction of posse comitatus and the firewall. Listen to what I'm saying. Listen to what I'm saying. They are telling you ahead of time, this is done. So the MAGA movement and what we are doing is incompatible with the laws that have been set up, which, by the way, can be reversed pursuant to executive authority and the like, because this is part of the executive. This is part of the administrative state. But there will be nothing. We will be nothing if we can be quashed, crushed, killed, destroyed by the military intervening in civilian activities. I cannot tell you how important this is. And if I walked onto the Fox, but I'm going to stick with them because I think they are the arbiter of what most people think who fancy themselves as, conservatives or whatever. This is the thing that goes right to the core. Lawrence Tribe, constitutional scholar from Harvard, he's not saying anything. Alan Dershowitz, he's not saying anything. Nobody's saying anything about it. Nobody but Ron Paul and other notifications, and it's right there. And what I think is interesting is that they tell you this flat out. They don't say, well, I think we heard this. No, here is the statute. Here it is. Nobody is telling you. And when I try to tell people this is the most important. While I love what Elon Musk is doing, do not completely trust everybody. Do not completely trust everyone. That's all I'm saying. And this is very tough for people. See, because we're trying to negotiate this up to the time of the election time, but people have a hard time with this. Notice we never talk about Israel and what's happening there. Never. You have to, if you spent 5 minutes on God bless the world of YouTube, if you put your parameters and say, let me get away from Fox News, because they are absolutely, I think they have become I don't know what you want to call it, maybe an offshoot of, trying to think of what they're not Haaretz, but the Jerusalem Post or something. And nobody understands this. Nobody gets this. Fox News is an absolute 100% mouthpiece for it. They are handed the script from basically not only Israel, but the Israeli lobby, AIPAC, whatever you want to call it. Same thing goes for Zelensky. Same thing goes for Ukraine. Anti-Putin, they are handed this. They are the official mouthpiece of these folks. And once you get it, you say, oh, I see. During COVID, during anything, remember, when the shit hits the fan, they are so in lockstep with the administration. It's not even funny. Why? Because the Murdochs are not going to in any way risk anything for the bigger picture. That's why they went crazy with Dominion. That's why they never called one witness. They didn't even go to trial and say, okay, let's pretend we're going to go to trial. Nope. $787 million for what exactly? On Smartmatic? And that basically sent a shockwave to put a chilling effect on anybody who would dare question the sanctity and the efficacy and the accuracy of the elections. So what we do every day is we have to negotiate through this. We say, yeah, here's some good news. Here's some good news. But that's not all the news. That's some of the news. And that's better. But we're not told, you're not told anything. You have to go in every day, and you can't sit back like this and say, okay, tell me what I need to know. Let me go here. I'm going to go over here now to, I'm going to hear Patrick Ben David. He's going to tell me what I need to know. He's not. He's going to tell you what he wants you to know. Well, let's go over here to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan's not going to push stuff. Joe Rogan knows, because unless Elon Musk completely removes him from the platform, he's not going to do anything. Look who owns Spotify. Look, the idea that people can say whatever they want is kind of a pipe dream. You know what I mean? Nobody can really say whatever they want. But the point is, we try to negotiate the truth with as much as truth as we can. Americans hate to hear any kind of bad news. They want to hear how things are. And now the good news is that Trump is going to win. And the only way that Trump is going to win is if something interferes with and interrupts the actual ballot system. If something interrupts or affects negatively the actual voting system itself, whether it's a tornado or hurricane or something, or displacement or breakdown, something along those lines. But nobody's going to talk about that. No, because of nobody wants to be the next Dominion. And nobody's talking about machines. This is how scared they are. So what we have to do is, the question is, will the MAGA movement continue? Yes. Yes, I'll tell you how. But first, President Trump has got to stand up while he's got everybody in front of him and say, look at what we're happening. Look at what's happening. And ask people, has anybody fully investigated the tendrils, the roots of my assassination attempt? No. And he should say, it's not about me. It's about somebody orchestrating a coup d'etat. Do you see this? This is the thing which is critical. He has to say it. There will be no discussion. This crazy, daft kid will be somehow forgotten. Remember that guy who was it? Everybody was talking about. Tucker talked about him. Everybody talked about him. January, what was his name? Epps or whatever it was. Just forgotten about it. What about Ashley Babbitt? Just forgotten about it. See, we have this thing called amnesia. I've never seen anything like it. We just forget about stuff. So we need to have the official division during the MAGA movement of the person who says, never forget. And he is the person who says, here is a list of all of the topics and when they were last discussed. We need a website or something that says, here is the story of an issue that was last talked about. Okay, let me explain it to you. My favorite is this. The JFK files need release. You will never see anything, Jeff, in a file. Let me say this again, my friend. Listen to me carefully. Listen to Uncle Lenny. Stop this. Stop this. There is nothing in a file. You can release every file known to mankind. They're all dead. You are never going to get to the bottom of this. The truth is all there. There are so many biographers. Nobody cares about this. Jeff, nobody cares about this. Look at me. Look at me. Nobody cares. That's conspiratorium talk. That's like, oh, and by the way, the JFK. Nobody cares about this. That's another thing we have. We live in a world where nobody cares about this. Will we ever get the truth about the Wu flu? About Wuhan? No. What about Fauci? Gone. What about CDC? Gone. What about that, whatever her name was, Cheryl? Gone. Gone. We need to have a division called, last time we talked about this, we leave these stories unattended. We just never finished. Jim Jordan's at YU. Jim Jordan, biggest bullshit artist of them all. What did you do about Fauci? You talking about Rand Paul. What about Fauci? Nothing. Any contempt? Did he ever lie? Nope. I don't know. What are we doing? We just talk about this stuff. So let me go back to this. This is the most important. Listen carefully.
So this is, the administrative state where they take over. They don't pass laws. They are laws unto themselves.
Now, do you think this guy is ever going to be on the couch of Fox News? Of course not. It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like one of these. Doesn't have the. What does he know? It's not, this is kind of like a little set, the lighting's not that great. You got better lighting. They always have these colored, these lava lamps behind them to give the hue. What he's saying is the most critical information that we talked about yesterday, and it's coming out, and nobody even says a word about it.
Go to the next one if you can, because this is what they're talking about. And I went on and I read this secondly.
See what we're doing here? We're looking at the actual statute itself.
And it talks about a reissued DOD directive that was reissued just on September 27th, 2024.
And the first time it was done, if you look at the history, was January the 7th, 2021.
Governs the Department of Defense intelligence activities and now includes provisions authorizing lethal force in certain circumstances.
From the federal government, the military, against American citizens. This is what Washington and everybody warned about, the standing army. Is anybody talking about this? No.
It supplants the 2016 version, which did not mention that. So I read all of this too, which is someone else's analysis. I said, okay, this sounds even more troubling. I want to go look at the document itself.
Good.
And so go to the next one. I actually went and looked at the DOD directive. It's DOD Directive 5240.01. Now go to the next one. I'm just going to get to this really quick so I can, just so people, this is on their own website. Now this is section 3.
Okay, I'm not going to hit you with this because I can tell I'm losing you right away. This is the stuff. Maybe it's the lawyer in me. Maybe it's the wonk. I hate that word. I like lawyer stuff. I like legislative history. I like to read the statute. I like somebody to say, let me explain to you what this means. Let me show you what this means. This is what I've got to get the news out. By the way, Mark Kalisha is a new member. Mark, welcome. Crypto says the can and can't bullcrap is how I landed here. Thank you so much. YouTube says, did you see the 72-hour emergency authorization clause? There we go. The left constantly accusing the opposition of every ism out there has turned them into the teacher from Charlie Brown. Nobody hears them or cares. What will the MAGA movement be in the future? That's exactly what we're talking about now. Did you see Elon is giving $1 million to somebody every day until the election to get people to sign the petition to save the First and Second Amendment? That's very good. Elon better be careful. It's October 20th in America. Do you know who's running the country? No, we don't. And morning on the Conspiratorium, y'all, and Woodrow Wilson was a real prick and second shooter in Butler. Okay. Interesting. And that's too far. Okay. What do we do? Alrighty. I'm not sure about that. Lori is feeling her oats today. So here is the thing that needs to be done. This could be done specifically by President Trump. All he's got to do, and all Elon has to do, is he has to have somebody. And I told you about this before, and you're going to think I'm crazy. But you're going to have somebody who is in charge of information. And we're going to have to change the way we think. Now, let me explain something to you before. I said this, and I've been talking about prepare with Lionel for years. It is coming again. And the idea that you have to be ready for certain things. There are more people who worry about how to do bench press. I have seen bench press videos as though the secret of the bench press is yet to be figured out. I know people who are talking about, there are more tutorials on how to put on makeup. I heard something the other day. I don't really see this anymore, but it lasted about a week, maybe 2 weeks. All of a sudden, there was this flood of people all over talking about menopause. Women on menopause. They just discovered it. Menopause. You have menopause. I have. There's no reason to be embarrassed about menopause. Who's embarrassed about menopause? You've got to understand something. I'm going to lead the way for menopause. What menopause? Menopause. Well, that's about a week, 2.5. And people said, okay, enough with menopause. So we get into these things. And I'm telling you that food insecurity is the most base concern of them all. And that you have to do something about it. Not the government, not the stores, not FEMA, not your local county commission. You have to do something. You have to do something. Do you hear what I'm saying? You have to do something. So go to preparedwithlionel.com. There's a deal here. You can save $508 in free extras on the 3-month emergency food kit, or you can go and you can see for yourself about water filtration. Water, gravity. What are you going to do if all of a sudden you turn the faucet and nothing's there? It's great to have bottled water. Do you have a water purification system there? What about a biomass? What about an oven? It doesn't need propane, doesn't need electricity. What about things like solar powered generators? What about things that people have spent at night thinking of? Let's see, what can go wrong? And whenever you bring this up, people will say, well, I have a fishing pole. we have a lot of things. We have a lot of freeze dried banana chips and they always fight you back. It's just like when you talk about diet, you say, well, CoQ10 is no, you don't understand what CoQ10 is. CoQ is the supplement versus anyway, everybody, we live in this world where you say something and they stop you and they argue against it. No, well, you see, that is true, but see, I have an ammunition, a 22 rifle. It's like, stop it. It's like, listen to what we're saying. It's like if somebody's saying there's a fire, there's one way out here. Somebody in the group would say, many causes of fires are sometimes not necessarily electrical, but could very well be atmospheric. What are you doing? Stop telling us how much you know about this subject and do something about this. It's the weirdest thing. People love to always say, well, that's true. But you do know that vitamin K, stop it. I don't understand it. So preparewithlionel.com. It's a very interesting thing that I do. Very interesting. And I love doing it. I love pointing out the obvious. Jeffrey Rogers said the Ashley Babbitt murder is the most disturbing event of the 2020 election period. Jeffrey, it's one of those ones where, and I hope her lawsuit, I hope she owns the federal, or her family owns the federal government. Lionel, wasn't the last and only time Posse Comitatus was suspended and the U.S. military was unleashed on citizens was the draft riots of 1863, fresh from Gettysburg. I do not know that. By the way, draft riots were here in New York City, in Hell's Kitchen, right here, right down the street, so to speak. Jake Peters says, we live in a world now where AI is going to manipulate everything and change everything. Beware. Jake, it's not even AI. It's going to be artificial general intelligence. And do not expect anybody to even understand what this means. Now, let me see if I can explain this. And please do not take this the wrong way, dear friend. Uncle Lenny does not want to always be the one who says, and you don't understand, and you don't understand. When I say you, I don't mean you, but they don't. I am, we have an event coming up. And whenever we go to it, I turn to Mrs. Ellen and say, now remember, they don't know anything. They don't know anything. So let's don't do this. Let me give you an example of something. When a little kid comes to you, let's say your child, and says, Mommy, Daddy, where did I come from? How the birds and the bees. And you say, how old is this baby? 5 years old? Four? Oh, precocious. Ooh, okay. Well, let's do this. Mom and Daddy love each other. Praise to God. And the baby say, is that good? Great. As opposed to, well, let me explain something to you. During excitation, the penis becomes engorged and tumescent through not only extravasation, but an engorgement of the corpus cavernosa, the spongy to that transect the bilateral portions of the penis. And as you know, there is a lubricant that is extruded or that is released from the prostate, which has the highest form of spermatozoa content ever. And after a period of excitation and the like, and the woman, by virtue of Skene's glands and Bartholin's, become lubricated and ready for your kid's going to go, what the hell are you talking about? I said, well, that's the answer. Rafi Dom. Thank you, Rafi. That's a damn good thumbnail too, by the way. That's the truth. But the kids go, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not done yet. I'm not done yet. Now the court, now there's ejaculation and this, and then of course that's immediate and ovulation. No. So that's where I have to be. I have to realize I'm meeting people, and I will be at parties and events where people have the 4-year-olds. I'm serious. How did Trump do? Trump's going to do great. Isn't he great? Yeah. Did you see him on? Great. By the way, shout out to Right Side Broadcasting, the best. Yesterday, Mrs. L and I we take out the iPad, we set him up, we're listening to. And they're young people, and they may not necessarily have that polished sound. I loved it. When the president's mic went out for some particular point, anyway. So we're going to talk about a few things. Now, here's what's really interesting. This is what's really, really interesting. I want you to recognize this. And this seems to get people's attention. How do we say this? Let me see if I can explain this carefully. Sometimes I give the shadow government too much credit. I think they're too smart. I think they're too planned. I think they're too, what am I trying to say? I think they're too, too deliberate, too calculated in their world. I really do. So maybe it's me, but then I think, no, it's better to give your enemy too much credit than not enough credit. Okay. I believe in a very strange way. I believe that Guatemala was put there for reasons that have nothing really to do with just the fact why they double-crossed Biden. Why would they want to do this? I thought in the old days, people, when they wanted to win an election, will put anyone in, irrespective of who they were. They wanted to win the election. They wanted to win. So they would put the best person in. That's simple. That's what I thought. But apparently I was wrong. So they took a person and they said, let's take somebody who, number one, and I'm not trying to be, listen, she is not, retarded, to use that antiquated word, which everybody understands. It's so funny, some of the words which we're not supposed to use, like if you say, that's bullshit, everybody says, oh, I understand what that means. Well, that word you can't use. Well, why not? Well, but it doesn't mean anything anymore. Well, I know it doesn't mean anything. Don't say retarded. Why? Well, because the retarded people. See, there you go. Oh, yeah, you're right. Well, the retarded, see, it's used as a pejorative. Okay. But I can talk about retarded people. Oh, yeah, you can talk about them, but just don't use the word retarded. Oh, I see. So if I were to say, if I say the N-word, the N-word, let's say, the N-words people are intellectually inferior. That would be wrong because I use the N-word, right? Yeah. So if I said African Americans are intellectually inferior, that's okay. Yeah. See how stupid that is? It's like, no, it's not the word I use. It's the subject. If I said your wife is a whore, that's wrong. Your wife is concupiscent to strangers. Oh, that's okay. No, it's not okay. It's the idea. It's the idea. Don't worry about the phrase. No, it's they. I'm not a he or she. I'm a they. Okay, whatever it is. Now, I don't know what it is, but I don't think that she is, if you spoke with her, if you sat at a table, let's say you're at a wedding and you sat next to Guatemala and you were shooting a video, how's this weather? I know. Yeah, where are you from? Oh, California. Yeah, me, that's very. You'd say, delightful. She probably is very nice. She probably will laugh. You wouldn't be overly impressed, but you wouldn't say this person has a very serious mental deficit here. No, she's not. She's not that, retarded, to use that word that you can't use anymore, which everybody understands. But she, for some reason, does not seem to understand anything about what we're talking about. It's like if somebody took me, I think I would hope you would think I'm not an idiot. I know a lot about a lot of stuff. But if you put me on Fox Sunday, either or maybe baseball analysis, or you would know immediately this guy doesn't know anything about baseball. He's not saying anything that even remotely sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And not only that, he's been doing this for about, I don't know, 3.5 years, and he still doesn't know anything. I guarantee you, if you put me on, let me watch a couple of shows, let me immerse myself, I could do a decent job doing baseball commentary. I wouldn't know the names of that, but I would, because I would try to learn. She doesn't learn and doesn't want to learn. And one of the reasons is we see this every now and then. Watch how people have listened to her script and pointed it out to you. See what's happening? She doesn't know what she's saying. She's scripted. Here's one of the worst things ever. Jimmy Carter. I got to tell you this story. Jimmy Carter was talking yesterday. I have a lawyer friends of mine, and we all are Dylan fans. And we talk Dylan, Dylan stuff. It's very interesting. So in our little group, I sent this little piece about Jimmy Carter meeting Bob Dylan. And Bob Dylan was very important. And Jimmy Carter, his son, Jimmy's son, and he didn't talk for about a year. But the only way they would talk to each other somehow was using Dylan lyrics. And Bob Dylan came to the White House or the governor's mansion. And he said, I want to talk to you for a minute. They went outside and talked about stuff. And they were very, they really respected each other. Willie Nelson likes Jimmy Carter. Bob Dylan just thinks the world of Jimmy Carter. Okay. So my friend in the group said, very, very smart, very successful lawyer says, Jimmy Carter would, I think, be a good candidate. Maybe not now, but theoretically, people like Jimmy Carter. And I said, well, and I normally keep politics out of this. I said, well, Jimmy Carter might have a bit of a problem by virtue of his position on Israel. He said, what do you mean? I'm thinking, oh my God. See, I always think everybody knows what I know. I said, well, Jimmy Carter has pretty much agreed with the ICC and the ICJ that Israel is committing genocide. And the conversation went, so we just stop because people just don't even want to talk about that. But this is exactly what's going on. Jimmy Carter's been saying about this, about supporting Palestine forever. He's been saying this. Nelson Mandela, that everybody loves except Nelson Mandela, what he said about Palestine. So this goes to show you again. I'm not going to not listen to somebody because I don't like the answer. I'm going to say, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. Explain to me like an adult what's going on. So Jimmy Carter, they took him out the other day and his mouth is agape. It's in this maw, this used to be that rictus, that smile all the time. And they brought him out with his mouth. He looked like Angelo Bruno. Remember Angelo Bruno, the head of the Philly mob? He was shot in the back of that with a shotgun, and they left him in the front seat of his car for like hours with his mouth. That horrible shot, frozen. You may have seen it. And that's Jimmy Carter. They drag him out. He's 100. His mouth is frozen. To me, how they don't have somebody. And he had have you ever seen these attendants they get? You'll get somebody who's like an attendant for some old person. You see him a lot here, like some Jamaican woman or something. Is she really paying attention to this? Nothing against the Jamaican woman, but he had kind of like an attendant. So they dragged his frozen mouth agape versus agape, mouth out, looking just completely contorted and distorted and horrible, frozen in this senescent end stage. And they dragged him out to say he's going to vote for Kamala. If anybody deserves a write-in ballot, first of all, is he sentient enough to vote? Does he know? It was so they don't care about the optics. So they dragged him out, and it was, to me, elder abuse. The way they would do this once proud man. And they're dragging him out, and it's just horrible. Well, did you see what numbnuts? Listen to what she said.
Carter can vote early, you can too.
Let me try this again.
So look, if Jimmy Carter can vote early, you can too.
Who thinks that's funny? He made a joke. Listen to this.
So look,
And
if
there's that voice, by the way. She's doing that. You're black. Here's my black patronizing voice.
Jimmy Carter can vote early, you can too.
He goes from that to this ridiculousness. Now, here's $1 million question. This is what I want to know. You and I know this is ridiculous. You and I know she's plastic. You and I know she's not real. You and I know all that. But Democrats either don't know, don't care, or aren't bothered. That's the issue. When Sarah Palin was running with John McCain against Obama, I said, Sarah Palin is an idiot. Sarah Palin is Ed Whitten compared to Kamala. But the Republicans were doing the same thing because they like Sarah Palin. Oh, she's, she's a grizzly mom or what do they call them? A grizzly mom. I mean, she's ridiculous. I don't want to say the word retarded, but they asked her one time, what newspapers do you read? What? She couldn't answer she couldn't even make up an answer. It's like somebody on a date. You know, you meet somebody and you find out, oh, they like jazz. Thelonious Monk, some Spyro Gyra, Fabric, Yellow Jackets, 80s jazz, cool jazz. But you immediately try to resource every jazz group or pianist or saxophonist or somebody to try to convince this person that you're trying to impress at the time that you know something about jazz. Well, anyway, we do it a lot. Sometimes maybe a job interview is called bullshitting. She couldn't even do that. This was Sarah Palin. So I saw the same thing, but she was nothing compared to this. This is off the charts. So Republicans did it too. Sorry about that. Republicans did it too. Republicans can be just as stupid and and I don't understand why people are why they kind of look the other way. Now, speaking of senescence, this is one thing which I always remind you of. This was Hillary Clinton who went through these weird fugues. She went through this weird head jerking, and look at the people around her. They look at her like it's no big deal. She obviously was going through some kind of a seizure, some type of an ischemic attack. By the way, check out, you see the woman on the left. She has brownish kind of hair. Watch her face jerk in horror when she sees what's happening to Hillary right in front of her. Now watch. See, it's like, rah! See her back just now? You see that look? Watch this again. Nobody said anything. I was on a show with not Errol Gardner. He wrote Misty. Errol Lewis or Errol something. New York One. It was a show called New York One. I remember going on and I said, Hillary Clinton may not make it. She has some kind of neurological episode. What are you talking about? I said, have you seen her? No. I said, she's going through what appears to be I don't know if it's a stroke or what is she's having? Epilepsy? What are you talking about? I said, you haven't seen this? I don't get it. Same thing with Biden. He's sharp as a tack. Sharp as a tack. What are you talking about? See, this is the thing that amazes me. Now, changing the subject. I like this.
Pastors here, thank you for hosting your town hall here at Life Center in Pennsylvania. My question for you is, would you hold an official position in the Trump administration? If so, what would it be? Would you create a new role for you to help save our nation?
Well, yes. So And I've had many conversations with President Trump, who is very much aligned in thinking that we need significant government reform. We need to get the government out of people's lives, really. And have America be the land of liberty, which is that is what has made America great, is the land of liberty and opportunity. So you maximize people's personal freedom, and we make sure that getting ahead is a function of hard work and talent, and an honest day's work. That's really what should get people ahead, and that's the only thing.
Okay, we got to work on that a little bit. I'm just saying, I'm going to explain something, a couple of things here. This is critical. Let me see. Ravi, Lori says, got to finish up their 16-year plan. Indeed, YouTube says the government has been looking to nullify our guns for a long time. No one can fight the militia. We are through. Crypto says, subscribe to Lionel Nation. Thanks. Thank you very so much. And also like this video. You must hit that like button. Sharp as a tic tac. That might be your funniest line so far. That might be your funniest line. Look, a couple of things here on our dear friend Elon. Number one, God bless him. Number two, he is not the smoothest, but that's okay. That doesn't matter. There's a certain honesty to it. What the president has got to understand, and what I've got to tell him, I mean, theoretically, is be very careful of anybody who wants to be the star. Rudy Giuliani, when he was mayor, had a guy named Bill Bratton. Bill Bratton was the police commissioner who was instrumental in this incredible turnaround of the crime through a series of the implementations of various events. Okay. Rudy Giuliani was the hardest working mayor anybody's ever seen. I mean it. If there was a water main break, if there was a traffic light that was out, he was there 24 hours a day. He would have his jacket on, he put his sanitation, he got the hat, he always was there. Bill Bratton, who was married to Ricky Kleeman, he'd go to Elaine's when Elaine's was open, big Elaine. It was Jack Maple. Jack Maple was the fellow who, they say he wore spats. He wore a spectator suit, two-tone, in any event. John Timoney, Anemone. There was this group that completely changed. And they had this CompStat thing where the police would be accountable. Okay, blah, blah, blah. There was an article that came out in Time magazine. There was a picture of Bill Bratton with Rudy Giuliani in the background. Bill Bratton was gone immediately. Bill Bratton went to L.A. and then came back. John Timoney left. I think he went to Miami and then Philadelphia. Timoney looked like the Irish. He looked like they punched his teeth in. He was just, what a great cop. These were cops. These were cops. Okay. What the president's got to know, and he will know this, be very careful of somebody who is trying to become the bigger star than you. Now, also, be careful of somebody who's got more money than you do. Trump in the room always is the richest man in the room, except for this guy. So just remember that. Just remember that. I would tell Elon one thing, and one simple rule. And every sentence you have with President Trump. And this is why the American people believe in a land of liberty. And that's what President Trump believes in. Hard work, dedication to your craft is all you need and will continue to be all you need under a Trump administration. Just always end it, okay? Trump has to understand glad handers. He's got to understand people. He likes them to an extent, But the moment he doesn't need you anymore, that's it. He doesn't trust you. Look at women. There is Alina Habba. You ever see her anymore? No. What is her name? Not Dolene. You know what I'm talking about. She's the election lawyer. Very, very good. I think she's Indian. You know what I'm talking about. She's not really close to there's a woman named Margot Martin. Margot Martin, which is the way young people say Martin. She's always there taking pictures. She's always there. She's a young gal, and she's competing with this fellow who was Trump's the most loyal man in the world. His name is Dan Scavino. Dan Scavino, I think he would marry President Trump if he could, if it was legal. I'm not saying he's gay or anything, but he is the most loyal man in the world. Well, here comes this Margot Martin. Margot Martin's a young gal, and who's paying her to do what exactly? I have no idea. So then we had this Hope Hicks. Remember, Hope Hicks was a part of it years ago. Boom, she got the boot. Alina Habba, boom, she's gone. Just not gone. There aren't any court cases anymore. She really did. And Trump likes sycophantic and loves women. Obviously, he loves women and loves them to kind of hang around him, and they're so great and so beautiful. And if they can say, "Oh, you're so wonderful, and you're so terrific," now that's why you got to understand this is what he's about. This is all the guy's got. He lives in a world. I don't know what his relationship with Melania. Do you? I don't know it. If I were Melania, I'd say, this sucks. I don't want to go back. I'm not going back there. I will bet you anything that she and Barron says, nope, Barron's staying here. He's going to do his college work, whatever it is. And by the way, how they can risk Barron's life at NYU? No. In any event, I would say, no, son, you're not going to college. We'll get a photo up of you walking around right around Union Square, but you are not going to go to college. We're not going to do this. You're 6'9". You look like me. No. Sorry. I'm sorry, but no. Can't do that. Prince Harry didn't do that. You can't do that. So she's going to end up saying, I think I would. I'd say, I'm not going to the White House. You could forget it. So he'll be by himself. Harry Truman was, because Margaret and Bess, they went back to independence. They said, screw this. He was there by himself. He used to answer the phone. Truman. It was a different time. Understand how these people work. You've got to understand the personality of this man. And I'm looking at this from just somebody who's from afar. And he likes people. Trump is a man's man. He is very impressed with people who are powerful and rich, but I don't know how he likes dealing with people who are richer than he is. Elon Musk is something nobody's ever seen. Elon Musk is as close to being as popular, if not more popular than Trump within our particular group. That's the truth. Elon, Trump is saying, hey, that's great. Elon is now he's doing what? He's going to be on the road. He's going to be on the road with me? Yeah. Okay. Well, who's getting the crowd? Hey, they're all excited. Why is that, Mr. President? Elon's here. Elon's here? What about I'm here? Oh, yeah, of course, you're there, but he's there. Keep that in mind. Vivek, he knows what to do. He's smart. Bobby Kennedy, did you see him at the Al Smith thing? He is so lost. He doesn't know where he is. He absolutely, look at it. Now look at this. Lori Cook says, Elon needs a daddy. Lori, that might be one of the smartest things you've ever said. Remember something. And you are so right about this. You always see what people are, always learn. You're right about this. The relationship of children, family. You're so right about that. I'm also very concerned about this Kimberly Guilfoyle, who I've not seen her at all, which doesn't bother me because I think she's annoying. But they had that problem with Don. Remember Don Jr. and the quote socialite, a word which has no reference in the 21st century. She is this Palm Beach socialite who supposedly is whatever. I don't know. This is a woman who, let's face it, she's 55. She's pushing 60. She's getting there, on her way. And, age is a funny thing. To some people, it just destroys you. I'm serious. I've seen this. All they do. I saw two things. Norm Finkelstein. Remember Norm Finkelstein? He is his parents had their Holocaust victim. He's a Jewish scholar, but he's very pro-Palestinian. For years, he was just sidelined. Dershowitz thought, I cut his balls off. He's nowhere to be found. They had some debate. He killed his chance for tenure, killed his chance for this. People said, that's the end of Norm Finkelstein. He's nowhere to be found. Now he's back, bigger than ever. What is Norm Finkelstein always talking about? It's my age. I'm an old man now. I'm an old man. Interesting. I'm an old man. You're just 70 years. A guy runs 5 miles a day. I'm an old man. I used to love Robert Klein. I listened to Robert Klein old routines. He was the most brilliant comedian I've ever heard. Today, bitter, always talking about my age. He's doing these horrible Zooms where they look up his nose and I'm old, I'm 82, I'm old, I'm dying, I'm old. You ever hear John Mearsheimer? What is he, 77? I'm old, I'm dying. No. Blues singers, Miles Davis, I'm old. So, in some respects, though, and let's face it, ladies, in the world of entertainment, age is not your friend. Not that it shouldn't be, but the way society is. People are terrible. Oh, terrible. We get away. You're a man. You get away with murder. Oh, look how it distinguishes. He's older. You're a woman. Okay, why do I say this? Back to Don Jr. Kimberly Guilfoyle, older than he is. He's this young buck. I don't understand anything about him. I never talk about people's private lives. Has a family with 5 kids. Told them, okay, fine, whatever. Look, I don't know anything about that. But when you're growing up and your father's got Marla Maples, and got the mother, and he got this one, Dusty Saddles, I know Stormy Daniels, he says nothing happened. Okay, fine. But it's like Bobby Kennedy. You start seeing this. Oh, I can do this. I can flirt. Oh, I see. Especially when young men are told, it's normal. It's normal for you. Men flirt. It's normal. That's the way men are. They hear this. That's bullshit. That's not, no, that's the way men are. No, it's the way you are. That's what people say. People steal. We've always been stealing. Look at the bonobos. Look at this. Go back into the world. People steal food. We all steal food. What are you talking about? We don't steal. We have this thing called morality. Don't give me this thing about, well, a man was meant to spread his seed. Look, Margaret Mead, I don't know about you spreading your seed on the Serengeti. That's nonsense. You're just trying to come up with a reason why people, okay, fine. Where is she? Where's Kimberly? I don't like what's going on here. I don't want that to be an October surprise. I hope your internal palace intel group is telling her, don't think of anything. Remember, they've been engaged for 20 years, maybe even longer than Lawrence Sanchez and Bezos. I don't know what that's about either. That scares me. So keep that in mind. That's number one. Number two, Lori's right about this, about Elon. Elon wants to be not enough with Star, this and that. Brilliant guy. He wants to be kind of the closest thing we've ever seen is Howard Hughes in the old days. Howard Hughes was, remember, not Rosalind Russell, Jane Russell, and he was the movie theater, studios, and he was beyond just being a billionaire. There are some billionaires. Then we have the Bill Gates guy who never really did it for the posh. He wanted to be I want to change the world to be some kind of a mad Klaus Schwab, relic. So all these personalities, Then you got Bobby Kennedy. Oh, Bobby Kennedy. Oh, keep him away. Don't ever put him in charge of anything. They will blackmail his ass so fast. All of a sudden, you want him in charge of, I want him in charge of the CIA. What are you talking about? He can't even figure out who killed his father. He knows. He knows. They know the guy's name, but what's his name? Caesar or whatever. They know his name. The ex-cop. This is ridiculous. If there's one thing I can do once and for all is to put the stake in the heart of the Kennedy family myth. Camelot never was. It was bullshit. And these are the most despicable people you've ever want to meet in your life. And I am so sick and tired of how, oh, they're America's great family. And Ethel Kennedy, God bless her. God bless her. 96 years. But she had the wildest kids. She was no prize. Sorry. She's a skakel. Look at that Michael Skakel. I don't know what they did when they clobbered that Martha Moxley. That's not her fault necessarily. But all of her kids were running around and Bobby was stooping everything that moved. No. And what does that send you? What kind of a message is? No wonder Bobby's so screwed up. Heroin addiction, writes down with women are conquest. No. Let me tell you something. If I was a president, I would have psychological dossiers on everybody. I make sure I don't get somebody who's going to, no drinking problems, no depression, no ex-addicts. Very scary. Very scary. Just keep in mind, a lot of people are dry and they're sober and God bless them. But always remember, what is Bobby Kennedy going to do? What if he has to go to a meeting? What if he wants to talk to somebody? What if he's feeling, I don't know. You've got to look, you got to be very brutal about this. Very, very brutal. And these people are planning something. Let me go back to what I said before. It started with what Raskin and Jamie Raskin and others were saying about on January the 6th, we're going to do everything in our power to stop this. And we believe that Trump is going to somehow steal the election. Look, I live in a world where I want to look at, we used to use this word 4D chess all the time. Remember that? Trump is a master of 4D chess. Well, I don't know about the chess, but I want 4D, 5D, different dimensions. And there's the story, there's the behind the story, there's the real story, there's the human element. Why have the Democrats turned their back on Kamala? Why has Gavin Newsom not done one day of campaigning? Why did Bill Clinton throw her under the bus? Obama never wanted her. Obama hates Biden. Somebody would have said, Mr. President, do not, if you're going to talk to Joe Biden, shake his hand. Don't stand there like you're talking. They did this on purpose. They know they're being recorded. They're constantly throwing something into the ring. They want people to think that there's some palace coup within the palace going on. They love this. They know exactly what they're doing. Why did they pick Tim Walz? Anybody could have said, give me 5 minutes. I'm going to go on the internet and find out. Do you know he was a tampon? You know the thing about the coach? And that's bullshit. You know about the drunk driving? Yeah, that's bullshit. What about the IVF? That's bullshit. They knew all this stuff. Nothing was uncovered. Nothing was said. They didn't care. Do they not care? Are they sloppy? Do they figure they don't have to care? Or is there some reason why they deliberately want somebody who is so pocked and infected with problems and shortcomings? I don't know. See, you can think yourself into, did he mean that? Is that what he meant? Did he mean that? Maybe it was an accident. Are they that stupid? I always go, I'm not going to say Occam's razor, but always default to people are just stupid. Remember, the people who run the show today, the people on the world of comedy, the people in certain boards are single, women, cat ladies, and, I hate to say this, but there's a certain degree of truth to this, who push DEI. Remember the woman from Bud Light? That was the poster, not Dylan McDermott. By the way, he was gone. Dylan Mulvaney, rather, is gone. He's just gone. They use you and that's it. Single-handedly destroyed. I don't know why they did this. What was the purpose? I have no idea. Who picked Rachel Levine? Now, if I ran the show, I'm going to say, do me a favor. We're going to have a little contest. I've got some female impersonators here that you will never, ever, ever be able to tell anything. Ever. And we're going to promote them to Rear Admiral, no pun intended, or pun intended. And they're going to come out and they're going to say, that's a woman, that's a woman. Wow. Maybe they do deserve rights. Maybe they do. Okay. Instead, they pick, hi, I'm Rachel Levine. I look like your librarian man, or you're the guy who's a landscaper who all of a sudden puts a wig on, or not even a wig. Laurie says, you know how Elon gets along with DJT's kids? Pick tampon because they hit it off while he was in Minnesota about George Floyd. She's connected to Juicy. Okay. Interesting. She's connected to Juicy. Very interesting. However, Lori, it's the people who are involved in the overall substance which is important. In any event, dear friends, thank you for this. Thank you. Lori Cuck, you were on fire today, Missy. Crypto Domini, thank you. YouTube Sucks, thank you. Rafi Dom. Jake Peters, thank you. Ryan. Jeffrey Barger, or Berger, excuse me. Barger. It's like, who is it? Sonny Barger from the Hells Angels. Let me see. Sam Whiskey, Brad Rung, Raul Rodriguez, thank you. And Mark Kolisha, our new member. All right, dear friends, you have a great and glorious day. I thank you so much for being with us. We will be back this eve. Don't forget, by the way, YouTube, Lionel members, part 2 of the great Sean Atwood interview is up. Members always get that early. You can go and see that. You can have a wonderful, 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 wonderful time with that. It was a most raucous and untamed interview. There was, and discussion. So be on the lookout for that. Don't forget, October the 26th at the Cutting Room. I'm going to be there. Tickets available right now. Go in the description section and preparewithlionel.com. Just go and see for yourself. I don't have to tell you that again. And thank you. And one more thing. We have always supported, and they've always supported us, our good friend Mike Lindell at mypillow.com. We are a mypillow.com family, and you too. You become as well by going to mypillow.com. Promo code Lionel. All right, dear friends, have a great and glorious day. See you later. Have a wonderful day. Don't ever change. Until then, remember, the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.